listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle. I am Geoff Schwartz, 8 years in national football, alongside Marty, Hurney, 30 years, and now for front offices, former Carolina Panthers general manager and Washington Commanders EVP of player personnel. The GM Shuffle is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And Week 15 is almost in the books, Marty, National Football League, and we had quite a weekend where it seems to have defined playoff races. Other teams are out of the playoff race. The injury news, unfortunately, dominated what we saw from major parties this weekend. I think the team most affected by this in the moment will be the Green Bay Packers, Marty, who lost to the Denver Broncos by 8 points, but also lost Micah Parsons to a torn ACL and Christian Watson to an injury, Marty. The Parsons injury is not good, but like as simple as it can be, right? Because the Packers relied on him so much for what they did defensively. When you have a player like that requires 2 or 3 sets of eyes on him every single play, you're a player that requires that much attention, helps everyone else. And really the Packers pass rush outside of Parsons has not been there, Marty. And that's an important piece to winning a championship. You have to get home and sack the quarterback, hit the quarterback, pressure the quarterback. And the Parsons injury to me was the most devastating one in the moment that we saw yesterday for a team competing for a championship this season.
Yeah, I think Parsons was the guy who was supposed to take him over the hump, Geoff, and I still think they can survive defensively. I thought their biggest injury yesterday was the Christian Watson injury. They're up 23-14 when he goes out of the game, and I was watching that game very closely because I had a bunch of parlays going into the Packers, and I think I had that game analyzed right. I said that both teams were going to try to pressure and disrupt, and I thought that Jordan Love would handle it better. He did not. He did not handle it well. He was definitely bothered by the constant Broncos pressure on the pass rush. And on the other hand, I thought Bo Nix played the best game of the year for him and just showed a lot of poise in the pocket and had his eyes downfield and made accurate throws. And he was by far the better quarterback on that field yesterday.
Every time I watch the Packers play, I think about what we've talked about all season long, is that their offense doesn't scare me. It doesn't. Even when now Watson's out, right, of that offense. But when I watch them play, I don't think to myself, I'm really worried about so-and-so making a play. Or I'm really worried about Jordan Love doing something extraordinary. Now, he has the capability to do that, and they have shown throughout the season to make some of those plays when it matters most. But I just don't look at them in that way. The interception, great play by Surtain. The game changed, right? It was 23-14. It ended 34-26 to the Broncos. I mean, that play changed the course of the game. And Bo Nix, we'll get back to both these teams when we talk about where the playoff standings are at the moment. The other injury news that is important, not maybe for now or for the future, it's Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL for the Kansas City Chiefs in a season from hell. Right, it's just hasn't gone well all season, and it ended with Mahomes tearing his ACL. Week 1 next year, probably pushing it, but certainly possible. Marty, if you're the Chiefs general manager, this has been a bad season, as we know. There are holes on this roster. Does Mahomes getting hurt force a different mindset for them this offseason?
I don't think so. I first of all, the way the surgeries go now, Geoff, you say it's anywhere between 7 to 9 months where a player can come back from an ACL and start playing effectively. So I don't see Patrick Mahomes out for all next year. If anything, you're making a decision in that last week at camp whether to put him on PUP, which they probably will. But my point is it takes a lot less time to come back from these type of injuries than it used to. And it's funny. Everybody's talking about the Chiefs. Oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? I think they have set the expectations so high. I mean, this is a team that losing in the Super Bowl has been a disappointment over the last 5 or 6 years. So that's a bad season for them. Well, now they're just back with everybody else. I mean, they were going to, the way this season went, they were in a rebuilding process anyway. And when I say rebuilding, it was just retooling. I mean, I don't think they have to rebuild. Obviously, they have to keep putting people on defense, especially on the defensive line to get a pass rush. But I don't feel the like gloom and doom that a lot of people have felt over the Chiefs and the Mahomes injury. I think he'll be back next year. And it was sort of weird that, that injury came right when it looked like they were going to be eliminated. And you hate to see that. You hate to see difference maker players hurt like that. But I think the Chiefs are going to be fine. I mean, they still are an excellent organization with Andy Reid and Mahomes will be back. I don't think there's panic set in. It's now that division's getting a lot better. You've got Jim Harbaugh and you got Sean Payton in that division now. So that's going to be a much more competitive division than it's been. So I think that my concerns would be with that, but the Chiefs are going to be fine.
Well, we can spend a lot of the offseason talking about what the Chiefs have to do. There's a lot of work to be done there, but I just want to get your opinion sort of in the present. What would be the Chiefs moving forward? I actually think the Chiefs might just lose out. And we'll talk about the preview of their game this week into Tennessee. Like, I just don't see the motivation, quite honestly. And I was reading an article today, and one rival executive said they look tired. They probably are. They played in 7 straight AFC Championship games. Yeah. They played in 3 straight Super Bowls. And I just think the will to continue to play might be gone after Mahomes gets hurt. But there's more news to talk about as well. Davante Adams, who's had an incredible season for the Rams, goes out with, I believe, a leg injury, correct, Marty? A hamstring injury. I would imagine, unlikely to play the rest of the season. The Rams play Thursday against Seattle. We'll preview that game a little bit, maybe the end of today, but also obviously very heavily on Thursday on our show. They go to Atlanta, eliminated from the playoffs. They go to the Cardinals, the host Cardinals, who are also eliminated from the postseason. I imagine the Rams just heavy up the 13 personnel and say, we're gonna 13 personnel you to death and try to survive the next 3 weeks without him. But Marty, a big loss if he cannot be ready to play early in the postseason. Now, the Rams potentially could have the 1 seed. So that gives them 1 extra week, obviously, of rest for Adams. How important or impactful is this injury for the Rams?
Yeah, I think it's pretty important going into the playoffs. And it looked like a pretty significant hamstring, the way he just pulled up and went down. But what happened was, and we've said this a few times, is that when Puka Nacua was out for a couple games with the injuries, it really helped the Rams improve because Davante Adams and Matt Stafford got to get a chemistry together, and they were a much better team. He's their kind of stretch it guy. He's the red zone guy. He's a great compliment to Puka Nacua. So I think it definitely has an effect on their offense. Hopefully he's back in time for the playoffs.
Well, let's start getting into some of the playoff picture that we do every Monday here, Marty. Right now in the AFCs, I think the AFC is so fascinating because I think it's just very wide open. Number 1 seed, the Denver Broncos. They're 12-2. We've talked about this, or I have for weeks now. They're my pick. Now, they've won what? They've won like 10 games in a row, 11 games in a row, which is kind of crazy. They're due for a loss at some point, I would imagine. I'm curious, actually, if they would like to lose a game, Marty, because I know it's very cliche, but I do think it matters. I don't think you can win 17 games in a row to win the Super Bowl. I think at some point, like luck is going to run out. But the important thing to know with the Broncos is what we talked about, is that Bo Nix appears to be getting a little bit better, Marty. And if Bo Nix gets 10, 15% better than where he was a month ago, with this defense, this offensive line, with the weapons, the running backs do worry me. Harvey, to me, is not number 1. Like, that's just not an ideal situation. But in the playoffs, that's when you use Bo Nix, right? It's when you use his legs. It's when you say we're full speed ahead in the read option, quarterback runs, quarterback zones, quarterback powers. Like, all those things come alive, in my opinion, in the postseason. But the offensive line is good. The skill guys, Troy Franklin's getting better. We know the play calling is good. I think early in games, Sean Payton's too conservative, but that is what it is at this point, Marty. But the Broncos, man, I'm glad I bought stock a few weeks ago. I like where they're at right now.
Yeah, I wish I would have listened to you because, again, I liked the Packers yesterday and really just picked the wrong side because Denver was the better team. The most important thing for Denver, Geoff, is to get to get the top seed, to get the number one seed, get the bye, get the home field throughout the playoffs. They're undefeated at home. This is a team that you feel kind of getting the momentum and getting better and better. Sean Payton coached teams do that. Pretty much over his career. So you got to love him. Yeah, I mean, you've got to like him. And Bo Nix really has. I mean, he just played incredibly poised in the pocket yesterday. There was pressure on him too, but he handled it much better than Jordan Love did. And they're just such a balanced team right now, Geoff. Again, I agree with you. I wish the running back situation was a little different, but this is going to be a difficult team to beat in the AFC.
It certainly is. And again, home field advantage, having to go to Denver, it's hard, man. The altitude makes a big difference. Well, the defense is playing makes a big difference. Right now, the AFC East appears to be the team that's going to have the 2 seed. The Patriots, the Bills, the Patriots up 24-3. They lose that game at home to Buffalo. Buffalo has 1 gear, man. And that gear is we got to score a ton of points. Our defense can't stop a soul. And they're doing it, Marty. They're doing it with a run game. They're doing it with a passing game that just does enough, right? I mean, the wide receivers aren't great, but they're making it happen. And it's Josh Allen, right? It's Josh Allen making these plays. They win 35-31. This is the way they have to win all the games, which does concern me long-term. When you have to win 39-34, 35-31, 44-32, those are four of the 3 last 4 wins. It does worry me how they win, Marty. But right now, the Bills are 1 game back of the division lead. The Patriots have that 11-3 record right now. Quick takeaways from this game.
Can't keep coming back from 21-0, right? Especially in the playoffs. It does worry me. They dig a hole and they get out of it. But how often can you do that? They rely on Josh Allen. The run defense is just it's going to be an issue. It's going to hurt them in the playoffs. You just have to be able to stop the run.
You do, and their schedule though: Browns, Eagles, Jets. So 3 very winnable games. Eagles will be at home in that situation there. All right, Marty, let's talk more about the AFC. Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans playing good football. We'll do that next. GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back on the GM Shuffle. The AFC South, Marty, occupies the 3 seed right now in the AFC playoff standings. Jacksonville, 10-4. They have the 3 seed at the moment. They have won 5 games in a row. I'll tell you what, man. They're playing better football offensively. They appear to have some sort of consistency week in and week out, which is important. They played a not great group of teams for last month, but your job is when you play bad teams, you dominate the bad teams. If you're good, we'll know a lot more about Jacksonville this weekend when they travel to Denver. But Marty, they won 5 in a row. They look like they're on the right track. Trevor Lawrence is playing better. What do you make of Jacksonville right now, sitting at 10-4?
They're a good team. I just don't think they're ready. I don't know where they're good enough to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Listen, Trevor Lawrence played a tremendous game yesterday, 5 touchdown passes, ran for 1, rushed for 50 yards. I think he's the only player in the NFL history to do all 3 things in one game. But I just don't know whether he's that guy that can get you into a Super Bowl. They're a very balanced team. I think, we've talked about head coach Liam Cohen, how he's done such a great job, and I think he's got the attention of this team. I just don't know whether when they come up against the better teams like the Patriots and the Bills and, of course, the Broncos, we'll find out this week, I think they're I just don't know where they're quite good enough to go through those type of teams to get to the Super Bowl. But they're playing better every week. They're a team with playing with a lot of confidence. Really a balanced offense with Travis Etienne in the running attack. So it was Trevor Lawrence really showed improvement yesterday, and I thought played probably his best game of the season as well.
It very clearly feels like Liam Cohen is a good coach. I mean, might be a cycle with coaches that we have a lot of home runs because it doesn't happen that way, Marty. We typically have one, maybe two, but Ben Johnson, home run. Liam Cohen feels like he's done a good job. I think Kellen Moore, and we're not going to talk much about the Saints probably today, has done a good job as well. We know Vrabel's good. We know that, but it does feel like Liam Cohen's hitting a stride as he should the end of year one. Let's talk about the Texans, though. Right now, currently in the 7 position, they're 9-5. They have won 6 games in a row. Their defense is wonderful. That game yesterday, before you even knew it, 17-0. That game was over immediately. Are they a legitimate, could they make the Super Bowl? Raiders, Chargers, Colts here to finish. I don't buy their offensive line as a Super Bowl caliber offensive line, Marty. That's my concern in the playoffs. But Stroud's getting better. They're getting hot at the right time, which is hugely important. They play defense, which obviously is important to winning a championship or at least getting to a Super Bowl. What is your thoughts on what Houston's doing right now?
Yeah, I think they're probably the 5th team to me in the AFC, Geoff. I like their chances of getting the Super Bowl better than I would the Jaguars. I think that their defense is just so dominant. They have an excellent head coach, and C.J. Stroud is really starting to play well. So I liked them a lot yesterday, and they came through for me. You look at the AFC, and obviously I think Denver is both our picks right now to be the 1 seed, but you have the Bills, the Pats, the Chargers, but the Texans are right in there. So depending if I think, the important thing is if they could win the division, that would help them a lot. Winning as a wild card team is very difficult. But they're really playing their best football right now. They're starting to hit their stride at the right time.
If you like to wager, Jacksonville minus 145 to win the South. The Texans plus 125 to win the South. Their schedules are, Jacksonville's schedule is a little bit tougher here with that game at Denver. But still, if you like the Texans, still have a little bit of plus money. Last division in the AFC, Marty, is the North. And someone has to win it. Pittsburgh plays tonight. They're 7-6. Baltimore's now 7-7 after beating the Bengals. It's those 2 teams. The loser is out. And I feel very comfortable with sort of 1 through 7 here. But Baltimore right now feels like the inside edge here. But Pittsburgh, they're a short favorite tonight. They do have the Lions, Browns, and Ravens to finish. That Week 17 game, Week 18 game feels like it's going to be a division-winning type of game. What do you make of the Ravens? I still don't buy that. Yesterday wasn't great against a Bengals defense that stinks, right? I mean, they scored a defensive touchdown. It wasn't good.
Well, you kind of got to my question. And I think to me, the biggest question out of this is, listen, the Ravens were a team that both of us thought would be in the AFC Championship game at the beginning of the season, right? Before the season started, and really even after that close loss to the Bills, where they should have won the game, we thought that they were going to be one of the 2 teams in the AFC Championship game, and then they had a ton of troubles. It feels like they're coming back. So my question is, if they're good enough, if things work out and they win this division, are they good enough to get into the AFC Championship game?
I do not believe so. I just don't. I haven't seen enough from that offense, Marty, to make me feel that way. They're just not good enough. The offensive line's not good enough. They're not having consistency in offense. We talked about a bunch of teams so far that are peaking right now in this moment.
Right.
Are the Ravens peaking right now? Does it feel like they're peaking right now?
It feels like they're starting. It feels like they're starting, but I agree with you. I don't think they're good enough to come from where they came from to do this. But I do think they're starting to play
Well,
their best football and closer to the brand we thought at the beginning of the season. And if we weren't so high on them at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't even be talking about them, right? But it'll be interesting. I guess I'm looking for something out of this division that is interesting, because it's sort of a, the Steelers and the Ravens conversation. It's like, two physical teams that you don't think are going to go far in the playoffs with whoever makes it.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. All right. I feel like we're hearing here in the GM Shuffle, there's even more VSiN Pro betting splits, power ratings, sharp analysis, all. For $9.99 your first month, go to VSiN.com/subscribe and check out all the subscription options. Marty, cleaning up a little bit from the AFC here outside of the playoff picture. The Colts are now sitting in the 8th spot. They're 8-6. They are trending downward very fast. They've lost 4 in a row. They played the Niners, the Jaguars, and the Texans. I think they might lose the rest of the way out here, finish 8-9. But the story yesterday was Phillip Rivers, who survived, I guess. The story is better than the end result. Phillip Rivers went 18-27 for 120 yards, 4.4 yards per attempt. He was 9 for 9 on passes behind the line of scrimmage. I think he was like 2 of 8 of any attempt past 7 yards. He threw one ball over the middle field that was, I think, longer than 7 yards. It was an interception. You mentioned this. I've talked about it. But this is the best he's ever going to look, man. He's going to look better next week, week after that. This was the chance to do it. This was the chance, and they almost did it. But this also, to me, proved Seattle's not the team we thought they need to be. We'll talk about the NFC in a few minutes. But thoughts on whatever that was from Phillip Rivers. I mean, people are so excited about this, Marty. I'm not. I thought it's an indictment on the rest of the NFL. They can't find someone to play quarterback who hasn't, who has been retired for less than a year.
Well, when he's 44 and he comes in, I mean, it really was. It's a great story, and it really was amazing. Hey, just think if Seattle would have missed that field goal with 18 seconds left and they would have won the game. Think of what people would be doing today, right? I mean, it just listen, it's a great story. I thought that he did exactly what they needed him to do. He came in, he pretty much protected the ball, and he knew where to go with the ball, did not throw the ball downfield, and that hurt him when they were trying to come back at the very end. I mean, you run two plays to Jonathan Taylor. I just think that, it is what it is, so to speak. It was sort of, you almost compare it to when a rookie quarterback comes in. If he throws for over 100 yards, takes care of the ball in his first start, that's a good start, right? Well, Phillip Rivers came in and it just, the expectations, nobody knew what to expect. And for him to come in and keep them in a game against a really good team in Seattle, and I'm a little bit higher on Seattle than you are, Geoff, but, to go in there and in weather situation and against a really good team on the road, I thought he did a great job. But to me, the kudos go to the Indianapolis defense, which, during the week they were saying, listen, this falls on us, okay? We've lost our starter in Daniel Jones. We got Phillip Rivers coming in. We got to play our best football. And then Jonathan Taylor, 25 carries, 87 yards. They knew he was going to run the ball. So I thought that there was a lot of credit to go around there for the Colts, but they lost the game. And as you say, their playoff chances are not good at this point.
They're not good. And the Colts offensive line, I thought, did really well. I pointed this out yesterday, considering what I think everyone expected to see from the Colts offense. They handled it well. They opened up enough holes. They were physical and gritty. And so
they really did.
I thought they did a good job. Quickly here to finish out the AFC, not a playoff team, but the Bengals, man, 4-10. They just sort of gave up at the end of that game. I get why they did that. Coupled with Joe Burrow's comments this week, Marty, if you were the general manager in Cincinnati, how concerned are you with Joe Burrow right now?
I'm concerned, but it's listen, that's what kind of makes me laugh when we talk about the Chiefs and what are they going to do? And there's a lot of teams with a lot of problems, right? And they have a franchise quarterback that they haven't given enough around them to keep them healthy and to win games. And that's got to be the focus. I mean, you just got to slow them down on defense. Get a pass rush because you think you're going to get the lead in games, and just get put together a defense that can play with the lead. So, I would be concerned. But listen, every team's got issues, Geoff. It's just, I laugh when we look and we're talking about the Chiefs, but every team's got issues.
They all have issues. The Bengals do feel like they're Andrew Lucking Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
The offensive line yesterday was atrocious. I mean, look, I have 20 seconds here, but like, if you're an offensive lineman, it's 3rd and 6, and you don't know that they're bringing a twist, that's fireable, Marty. Like, it's just like stuff like that drives me up a wall, that guys are not prepared just mentally to know what's happening in front of them. It pisses me off to no end, but that's where we are right now. We'll get to the NFC in just a second here on the GM Shuffle.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
I'm not done talking about this, Marty. We're going to talk more about this. Look, maybe because it's the style I had to play with, I had to know what I was doing because I wasn't good enough to not know what I was doing, right? There are certain players that don't even know what they're doing, right? I remember John Matsko was the offensive line coach for a season when I was hurt. I didn't play, but I remember he told us a story. When he was coaching Jonathan Ogden, I think it was Ogden. Was it Ogden or Pace? Maybe it was Pace. It was one of the two. And he made a comment like, yeah, he just worries, like, let him be by himself. The rest of the 4 of us figure out what we're doing. Like, that, don't ever help that guy. He's by himself, right? Like, there's some guys just by themselves. Trent Williams, right? Just by yourself, buddy. Like, sorry, that's you're by yourself. You're good enough. I don't care what else you do. Just block a defensive end. Like, there's guys good enough to do that, right? Most of us are not, right? Most of us have to work together to have success. And when I see offensive linemen very clearly don't understand what's coming in front of them on certain situations, it bothers me to no end because I had to survive that way. I had to know what was coming. I had to know that, okay, the 3 techniques, he's leaning a little bit this way, or his weight is forward this way, or his feet are switched up and the defensive end's feet are switched. And it's, the linebacker's moving out a little bit this way, or the safety's coming down this way, or like, it's 3rd and 6, and the D end is a little bit behind the D tackle, so they're running. When they run a twist, he can clear a little faster. Like, I had to know these things to survive. And when I see players that very clearly are not paying attention to simple cues like that, it just pisses me off. Like, it's so easy to just look and study a defense and figure out, at the minimum, some of the easy stuff. I don't expect an offensive lineman to know with 7 guys up who's dropping and who's not. But even in the same game, the interception to Van Noy, the Ravens rushed 4 and got a free runner in the B gap. Left tackle, it's empty. You got to block them. Like, it's stuff like that either they're not learning it together, they're not doing it together. One of the things that I say this every time. I go to the offensive line summit, O-line masterminds in Dallas every summer. 100 offensive linemen there all together. My buddy Duke runs it, and he asks me all the time to talk, like once a year. Because look, there's guys in that room. I think we had 5 Hall of Famers there last year. Like, we had a great group, but not everyone in that room is a Hall of Famer. Some are going to be like me, right? A 7th round pick who survives for 8 seasons. And I tell everyone all the time, like, A, you have to know what you're doing, right? But B, you have to watch film together. The iPads everyone has film on iPads now. When I came in the NFL, there were no iPads, right? There were discs, right? There were CDs. No one wanted to watch film on their PS2 at home, right? So we watched film together as a group. I learned how to watch film from Jordan Gross and Ryan Khalil. We watched film every morning for 30 minutes, and then we watched film after practice for 30 because we didn't have film at home to go watch. And when you watch film together with your teammates, you learn together with your teammates. So you communicate better. You figure out things better together. And I think one thing we've lost, and I stretch this with the young guys every July when I talk to them, is you have to watch film with your teammates. And I think so many guys now leave the facility, go home, watch film on their own. That's fine. But it doesn't replace watching film together. When I watch a lot of NFL offensive lines, now the bad ones, very clearly they do not watch film together. They don't work together very well, and it frustrates me.
Well, and you said the word that I've been waiting to get out is communicate, right? When you're watching tape together, you're talking about things, you're communicating. When you don't, and communication is so important. You know better than I do, the offensive line. And I think that, that's why you always hear we talk about, this team has had injuries and had 9 different combinations on the offense line or 10 different combinations on the offense line. And I think when there's injuries and constant change amongst offensive lines, it's easier to make the kind of mistakes you're talking about, Geoff. And I know you're not going to agree with me, but you have to be able to communicate. Plus, teams just don't run the ball as much, and it makes it much harder on offensive linemen when defensive lines know that they can just get back and pin their ears back and go. So I think there's several things that make it harder for offensive linemen now than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. But I do agree with you. The mental mistakes are just not only what get you beat, but what could get your quarterback hurt. So, but communication is such an important thing. 5 is 1, right, on the offensive line. We always said that. The scale was sort of, if you had 3 good offensive linemen, you were going to be okay on the offensive line, average. If you had 4, you'd be really good, and if you had 5, you'd be one of the best in the league. So, but communicating and playing together is so important there that I think when there is constant change and when you don't meet and watch tape and talk together, it's easier to make those kinds of mistakes you're talking about.
It's just so easy, Marty, to avoid this if you just watch film together and talk to each other and figure out how to communicate. It's 3rd and 6, man. Like, to not expect any sort of stunt is just mind blowing to me. Like, I couldn't play that way. I couldn't imagine how guys accept that style of play now in the NFL, but that's where we are. So, moving along to more important things, the NFC playoff standings right now. The Rams, 11-3. They play Seattle, also 11-3 on Thursday night. But, Marty, I know the Davante Adams injury is not good. Puka Nacua left with cramps, but I think returning, he's fine. I love the Rams, Marty. They are built like a Super Bowl champion. They have a great head coach, a great quarterback who's going to win his first MVP. They rush the passer. They're good enough in the offensive line. They mix the run and pass. We talked about running the ball. They mix both of those together. They have 2 good running backs. They can go 13 personnel, man. I don't know if they win. I think they win Thursday. But the Rams, I love them, man. They're my pick to win the Super Bowl right now.
I don't disagree. It's certainly the pick to win the NFC right now. And really, Geoff, I think it comes down to the Rams, the Eagles, and the other 2 teams in the NFC West. And, the Seahawks have an outside chance to me. I think that they're a pretty balanced team. Listen, Sam Darnold wasn't, the reason they didn't score a touchdown yesterday. They just had penalties that kind of hurt themselves a little bit. But I think that this game is going to be a tell. If the Seahawks win, if they get the number 1 seed, they'd be very tough. But I agree with you. I think the Rams, I think Matt Stafford right now, best team in the NFC. But I am not gonna push aside the Eagles. And the Raiders brought their get well card with them, and Eagles got right yesterday. It's going to be important to see.
I've never heard that before, but I tweet out the medicine for any poor offense is the Raiders defense.
That's it. I said they're a moving get well card, and they're exactly what the doctor ordered for the Eagles yesterday. Now it's going to be interesting to see the Eagles how they do against the Commanders team that's been pretty beat up with injuries and is not good enough on defense. We'll see if they can continue to get momentum as they go forward. But, we tend to overlook them a little bit because the expectations are so great for them, and I can't do that right now. But, yeah, to me, the NFC is the Rams and the Eagles, and then the 2 West teams are probably the next in line to me.
We'll talk about this a little bit more when it comes to the Thursday night's preview, but Seattle to me, if you can't run the football, don't like it. Not a fan of that come postseason time. Right, got control on scrimmage a little bit. Their offense is basically JSN, right? And we saw yesterday he had a drop that was bad, some formation penalties, just wasn't good enough in my opinion against a Colts defense that had not really shown a lot of spine the last couple of weeks. So they are right now the 5 seed is Seattle this week. This Thursday night game will go a long way. The 6 seed, by the way, we're going a little out of order, but we're talking about here. The Niners at 10-4 right now. They are obviously one back of the division. They have the Colts, Bears, and with the Seahawks. Hey, man, no pass rush, no problem. Now, they haven't played great teams. We'll find out maybe more against them, against the Bears and Seahawks. But Shanahan's doing it again, man, just putting together a winner. 10-4 right now, easily a playoff team. If you like them for the division, which, again, feels maybe up in the air a little bit here, plus 700 to get home there. Probably not a great wager, but an opportunity for the Niners here to be a playoff team anyways.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, what an incredible coaching job he's done with all the injuries and all the switches. But it just this is an example of how important it is to have a backup quarterback who can come in and win games. The old Ted Marshall thing, play 6, win 3. And they did that. They got through the Brock Purdy injury. So I don't know, man, this team, I've been looking to dismiss them the whole year because of injuries and all the changes, but they just are so well coached and such a good organization as far as communication from the top down. I can't dismiss them. Now, I don't think that they are as good as the Rams or the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Hawks in that division, but they are playing extremely good football and have really faced a ton of adversity this year.
The 2 seed in the NFC right now is the Bears. They're 10-4. They play the Packers, who are 9-4-1 this coming Saturday night. Unfortunately, Oregon plays James Madison in a playoff game Saturday night, Marty. So that game obviously more important than an NFL game between the Bears and the Packers that might determine the 1 seed and the division. Look, the Packers are better than the Bears. That doesn't mean that they're going to win that game. It doesn't mean that they're the right choice here. The Bears are doing what they have to do. They're beating the teams they should. That was a good win for them. They're getting better every week. Caleb Williams had an incredible, USC Caleb Williams play, runs to the sideline, buys a little time. Dangerous throw to DJ Moore, touchdown anyways. Ben Johnson, home run higher here. I still lean Packers a little bit as we find out more from Christian Watson. They said it's not serious, but still, I would take the Packers this weekend. But the Bears, man, they have arrived. They are a good football team.
You stole my thunder on that play. Who do you remind you of when he made that play rolling out to the right and throwing a dime
MAHOMES.
to TJ? Exactly.
MAHOMES. Yeah.
Exactly. He looked just like him. And that's why when you went in and you scouted him in college, I mean, I was all over Caleb Williams. I loved him coming out. I still like him a lot. And he's just going to get better with Ben Johnson. He's just going to get better in the pocket. But when he gets out unscripted and he can do things that very few quarterbacks can do.
Yeah. The difference between those two is that Mahomes is much better in the pocket in year 2 than Williams is. And so Williams has to continue to improve that pocket presence throughout the years because that look, as good as those plays are, Marty, and they are showing backbreaking, you got to win from the pocket first. Because in the playoffs, they're not going to let you get out. They're going to compress the pocket as best they can to force you to win from the pocket. Let's finish up with the NFC. We'll talk our best bets. Next on Jim Shuffle, presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
We're back, Marty, and the NFC South. Someone has to win, just like the AFC North. Like someone has to win. Tampa Bay on Thursday night, just incredibly disappointing. Up 28-14. The Falcons score twice and don't convert on either 2-point attempt, Marty, and still win the game by a single point at the end. Carolina Panthers, up 17-10, just have to run the clock out. Your first place in division if you get it done, and you can't do it. The Saints score the last 10 points of the game. They win in regulation on a 47-yard field goal. Look, the Panthers absolutely got jobbed on that personal foul. That's not a personal foul at the end. No. But good for the Saints of forcing them into getting the personal foul. Tyler Shuck went and slid and got hit late. Tyler Shuck, and we'll have plenty of time to do this in Thursday's episode, even next week as well, is playing good football. But Panthers and Bucks play twice the next 3 weeks. The Panthers schedule is brutal, by the way. It's Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. That's why right now Tampa Bay has good odds to win the division and minus 360. The Panthers are plus 280. However, all that being said, I will probably wager on Carolina to cover this weekend hosting Tampa Bay. What do you make of this division right now? The winner, obviously, will have the 4 seed. The loser will be out of the postseason.
That was such a huge game for the Panthers yesterday, and the way they lost at the end, Geoff, I thought they lost it. I thought they made enough mistakes late in that game to lose that game. If they would have won that game, if they would have gone in and beat the Bucks this weekend, they would have clinched the division. So they really blew a big opportunity with the Bucks losing to the Falcons Thursday night before. This time of year now is so much figuring out the mindset of the teams that are playing in the games, whether it's the mindset of the teams that are out of the playoffs and rebuilding for next year and maybe playing young players, teams that are in the playoffs and have clinched. How are they going to use their starters and who are they going to play at quarterback? So there's different kind of mindsets. To me, on this one, on the Panthers, what's their mindset coming off that loss? Obviously, you could say the same thing about the Bucks, but that was a game that it really looked like the Panthers had, that they were going to win it. And to me, they lost that game. More games are lost than won, and that certainly was one of them.
Yeah. It wasn't good. And again, an opportunity to obviously, solve the division pretty quickly and didn't take advantage of that. But look, either or. We'll find out this week who has the commanding lead for that division. A team outside looking in right now is the Detroit Lions. They're 8-6. They just aren't good enough this season. I don't know. They're just not good enough, Marty. Their defense is not good. Their offense has not been as good without Ben Johnson. Very clearly, the superpowers he had went to Chicago. Right. They're not there in Detroit right now. I'm arguing with Chiefs fans over on the internet, shocking, of draft picks, right? They're like, we need Jeremiah Love because look what Jahmyr Gibbs is doing for the Lions. What's he doing? They're not in the playoffs right now because they need other players like running back. Running backs, man, Gibbs is great. They're not winning games. It doesn't matter how good Gibbs is. There's other ways to win games in the NFL. The Lions it's sort of catching up, right? The drafting of Gibbs, the drafting of Campbell, those are two positions you could have drafted more impactful players on defense, right, Marty? It just didn't happen. Injuries are killing them as well. And it feels like they're not going to be a playoff team right now.
Yeah, I can't agree with you on the Gibbs point. I mean, I think he's a difference maker player, and I don't care where you play, and whether it's running back, wide receiver, tight end, if you're an impact player, and certainly he's got the receiving skills to be a dual threat. I think that he really is their biggest weapon, and I've always been concerned about Jared Goff's mobility or lack of in the pocket. But let me ask you something, and this could be completely crazy, but you mentioned the coordinators, right, Geoff? And Dan Campbell took over the offensive play calling. Is he trying to do too much? And I think that there was a play in the first half, right, that he challenged the spot, and they actually lost the timeout because he challenged a call that can't be challenged because it's either for a touchdown or line of gain for the spot of the ball to matter. So he made a challenge that he kind of shouldn't have made, and he should have known that rule, and he lost the timeout. No big deal. It didn't have any impact on the game. But is he trying to do too much? I mean, I think Dan Campbell's one of the best head coaches in this league, and I love what he's done in Detroit, but is it too much being the type of head coach that he is, that truly does manage all three phases of the game and call the offensive plays?
It feels like he's doing too much, Marty. That's a lot. That's a lot to do. Offensive coaches tend to work best when they have a defensive guy they trust to just do defensive stuff only. That's just the way it tends to work. offensive guy does offensive stuff, and the defensive guy is like the head coach of the defense, and those two are separate. Like you often see offensive coordinators that are head coaches, right? Well, the defense is on the field. They're on the bench talking to the quarterback. They're not watching the game because, like, the defensive guy that's his job. Like, obviously, the Chiefs are a good example. Andy Reid Spags is on his own. He's working with the quarterbacks. Sean McVay is working with the quarterback. He's on his own. He's off to the side with the quarterback. I would imagine. Kyle Shanahan. All right, all right, correct. Perfect example, right? Solo, you have the defense. I'm with the offense. Campbell, it's too much, right? Like, it's just too much. And I agree. I think he's compensating for the offense not being as good this year by being more involved. You know, they lost both their coordinators, which we talked about heading into the season, is maybe not being great. No, I think Shepard is a good defensive coordinator. I think that the defensive personnel is not great around right now, especially
they've had a lot of injuries. They've been banged up.
Correct. And so he probably will learn from this year and figure out something to do better next year. But it does feel like that window they had. They lost the Niners 2 playoffs ago in the NFC Championship game, a game they could have won. Got blown out last year with all the injuries they had. They're backsliding. They're backsliding, Marty. It does feel like this is the end of this little run right here for the Lions.
See, it's funny when you say they're not good enough. They're better than the Panthers or the Bucks, right? I mean, they just happen to be in the wrong division right now.
Well, that's the NFL. I don't know. I mean, that's just the way it works every year, right? Like that's
no, it does. But I just that they're an interesting team to me because I do think that their talent and their coaching are good enough to get in the playoffs and win a game or two if they're in there. But I just think that their division and their schedule has been extremely tough, and they have had a ton of injuries on defense, Geoff, and so you're probably right. They are probably the odd man out, but it's hard to tell right now. There's still probably one or two teams that you're saying, okay, I hope they get in, but they're not going to.
Dallas Cowboys lost last night. They've lost 2 in a row, Marty, and I just want to make this point very clear. I don't know who was we in the media. It wasn't me and you. Tried to sell us on this idea that the Cowboys defense was good because they traded for a defensive tackle. And there was, despite any evidence to the otherwise, the defense, Jerry Jones figured it out. He figured it out, everyone. What a genius trade for a defensive tackle. The defense stinks. It has stunk all season. They said this after they held the Eagles, who are terrible on offense at various points of the season, to 21 points. The Chiefs then scored 28, who can't score anyone in the NFL at the moment. The Lions scored 44, and J.J. McCarthy, who 2 weeks ago we wanted to cut from the Vikings, they put up 34 yesterday on the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense stinks. It still stinks. We're not giving Jerry Jones credit for the Micah Parsons trade because they played well for 3 weeks against the Raiders and the Eagles and the Chiefs, and they won those games because they played well offensively. I want to make the point. Cowboys defense stinks, Marty. It stunk all season. So Cowboys now basically out of the postseason, have to win out. Eagles have to lose out.
So if I told you I thought if they had the same defense from the trade deadline on all year, they would make the playoffs, you'd disagree with me?
They're the same defense.
So if they have the same defense all year that they have had since the trade deadline.
Not making the playoffs.
Yeah, see, I think that they have improved.
Marty,
I love interior pass rushers, Geoff. That's what this game has turned into. If you can get pass rush inside and get the quarterback off the spot, and I like the 2 moves they made, but you're right. They're still not good enough on defense.
I mean, they scored 17 points as the Cardinals and lost. I don't know, man. I don't think that defense matters there very much. All right, Marty, we have to get to it here before we run out of time here. Our best bets presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. What is the best bet for you this week?
I like the over in the Chargers-Cowboys game at 49.5, and that was a good segue as far as the Dallas defense. But I think that both these teams can score a lot of points. We talk about a team that's overcome adversity and a team that's been well coached. The Chargers, Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman, and they have done, Jesse Minter, they've done a phenomenal job. And it seems like every week they have moving parts, just like every team, but they've had key moving parts. Lost their two starting left tackles that are good enough to be starters, and they've overcome that. So, but I think that this is a game that's going to be a shootout, and I wouldn't be surprised if each team scores over 30. So the number's high at 49.5, but I'd like the over.
Cowboys defense stinks, Marty. I like it. All right, very quickly, I like a couple here. I like Tennessee plus 3.5 at home against Kansas City. I think Kansas City is just dead. I just don't know what motivation they have for this game. They're down 3 tackles, a right guard, another wide receiver, a third wide receiver. Bolton got beat up. Chris Jones hurt a hamstring. If I'm Kansas City, I play nobody. I know that's not really Andy Reid's mindset. I get it, but it's over. This year's done. Play the young guys. Play every young guy you have on the roster. Give them all the snaps, all the reps, and let them learn the last month of the season. That's what I would do. I like Tennessee here plus 3.5. And then I like the Niners here laying 5.5 on Monday Night Football. I'm just betting the Colts as much as possible. I don't buy the Colts. I don't buy Rivers. I think the Niners go in there. They run the football. They take care of business. They pressure Rivers and just make life pretty miserable. We saw what he can do. He can't do anything. Can't throw the ball. So I like the Niners here. No, can't push the ball down the field. All right. If you enjoy this show, please give us a rating, review, subscribe. Again, free to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. If you enjoy the show, please do that. We'll be back on Thursday with our preview of the week's games ahead. Hope you enjoy Monday Night Football, guys. Take care. Talk to you on Thursday.